It started on a Sunday. I just gotten back from picking up groceries. Danielle's usual almond creamer wasn't in stock, so I grabbed the hazelnut one she hates. I was bracing for the light-hearted scolding I'd get for it, thinking about how our daughter, Maddie, would back me up just to tease her mom. But when I walked in, the house fell off. Danielle wasn't in the kitchen. Maddie wasn't on the couch watching her cartoons. It was silent. Not just quiet Sunday silent, hollow. Then I saw her, Danielle, sitting in the dining room, alone, phone on the table, unreadable expression on her face. She looked up at me. "You didn't get the creamer." I gave a light smile. "Hazelnut this time. Give a shot." She tried to chuckle, but it never reached her eyes. That's when I noticed her phone screen, still glowing. A message preview from someone named L. I'm not the jealous type. I'm not the guy who checks phones or asks where you've been every second. But I've always trusted what I could see, and what I saw was something slipping. For weeks, she'd been distant. Not cold exactly, just out of sync. She'd go out on more errand runs, stay in the shower longer, put Maddie to bed, and then lock herself in our guest room, saying she was reading. Some nights, she'd cry, quietly thinking I didn't notice. I thought maybe she was going through something personal. Stress, hormones, grief, something. But then he showed up. I was outside working on the back porch lights the following Saturday when I heard a knock. Maddie had gone to a sleepover. Danielle was inside, making dinner. I wiped my hands, walked over, opened the door. He was around my age, maybe mid-40s. Dark jacket, worn expression, eyes that didn't flinch. "You Aaron Lockwood?" he asked. "Yes." He took a deep breath. "I knew him. I knew Danielle before. A long time ago. I think you, and I need to talk." My heart thumped against my ribs. "Talk about what?" He swallowed. "About Maddie." There was a pause. An ugly, wide pause. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said quickly. "This isn't some stupid affair thing. I'm not here to ruin your life. I got a letter. From Danielle. Years ago. Before Maddie was born. Saying there might be a chance. A chance she was mine." I stared at him like he'd just spoken a different language. "You're saying you think Maddie is your daughter?" He nodded. "She's 13, I said. "You're 13 years late. She told me not to come. Said it wasn't mine. Said she'd gotten a test with you." I believed her. I moved on. But last month I got a message. No number, no name, just a photo of Maddie. With a note. Said, "Meet her before it's too late." That was when everything cracked. I didn't punch him. I didn't yell. I just stood there, heart twisting in ways I didn't know it could. I told him to leave. I told him I'd talk to Danielle. And I did. Later that night, after Maddie had come home and gone to bed, I sat down with Danielle in the same dining room where this all began. I repeated Liam's words to her. All of them. She didn't deny it. Her eyes welled up, her hands trembled, but her mouth stayed shut. "Danielle," I said slowly, "is Maddie's father?" She opened her mouth. And then she whispered, "I don't know." I didn't sleep that night. Because when your wife tells you she doesn't know if your daughter is yours, everything inside you begins to fracture. I don't know. 3 words. 3 words that shattered 13 years of fatherhood in a single breath. I sat there staring at her. Not blinking. Not breathing. Just waiting. "Danielle," I said again, quieter this time. "What do you mean you don't know?" She swallowed. Her voice was thin. I made a mistake, Aaron. Back then, before we were married. Right before. I nodded slowly. My stomach was turning. "We were broken up," she continued, like that made it cleaner. "You remember? That 3-month split? I went back home for a bit. My mom was sick, and you said you needed time." "I remember," I said. My voice was like stone. "I thought we were getting back together when you returned." She nodded, fast, desperate. We did. But while I was gone, I saw someone. An old friend. It was one night, Aaron. It was stupid. And when I found out I was pregnant, I just assumed it was yours. We were back together by then. The timing lined up close enough. And you were so happy. And you never told me." Her eyes dropped. "I wanted it to be yours. I needed it to be. But you didn't know." "No." That night, I slept in my truck. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I couldn't look at her without feeling like I didn't know who she was anymore. And worse, because I didn't know who I was anymore. Was I just some guy who raised another man's daughter? Was I a fool who missed the signs? Was I even a father? The next morning, I dropped Maddie off at school like I always did. She talked the whole ride about a science project, and I nodded like I was still her dad. But inside, something was splintering. When I got home, Danielle was at the kitchen table, hands in her lap like a child about to be scolded. I want a paternity test, I said. My voice didn't shake. I wish it had. It would have made me feel human. Danielle just nodded. Okay. We did it that week. The waiting was hell. Every minute felt like a ticking bomb under our roof. I still went to work. Still packed Maddie's lunches. Still made coffee for Danielle. But we didn't speak about it. It was like there was a third person in the house now, a ghost between us. And then the results came. I opened the envelope alone. Probability of paternity, 0%. It's amazing how you can stop breathing and still be alive. I sat there staring at the paper, and it felt like my entire chest had turned to stone. I wasn't her father. Not biologically. Not legally. Not medically. Just a man who had loved her like she was the air I breathed. And suddenly I was nothing. Danielle cried when I showed her. Not tears of manipulation or drama. Real, gutted sobs. She fell to the floor like someone had just died. And maybe in some way something did. I didn't know, she said again and again. I swear to God, Aaron, I didn't know. I believed her. But that didn't fix anything. The next few days were a blur. I barely spoke. I started sleeping in the guest room. Maddie noticed. She asked questions. I gave vague answers. Then one evening, I came home to find Liam sitting in our living room. I froze. Danielle was crying again. I called him, she said, voice trembling. I thought you want to talk to him. I don't, I said flatly. Liam stood. Look, I didn't come here to fight. I want to know her. I don't want to take her away. I just want to be around. I looked at him, and all I saw was the end of everything I thought I'd built. I raised her, I said slowly. Every doctor's visit, every fever, every night, I held her during a thunderstorm. You weren't there. You don't just get to walk in because your blood matches. He nodded, respectfully. I know. I'm not trying to replace you. I want to punch him for being reasonable. I wanted to hate him for not being a monster. But I couldn't, because he wasn't the one who lied to me for 13 years. That night, I wrote a letter to Maddie. Not to give to her yet, but to prepare myself for when the day came. Because it would come. We couldn't keep this from her forever. But I didn't know how to tell her. Hey, sweetie, the man who taught you to ride a bike isn't your real dad? No, there's no right way. And then, just as things couldn't feel more unstable, Danielle's sister, Michelle, called me out of the blue. Her voice was low, nervous. She said, Aaron, I think you need to see something. What is it? Danielle, she didn't tell you everything. What do you mean? She hesitated. I mean, Liam's not the only possibility. There was someone else, around the same time. And just like that, another ghost entered the house. Someone else. I stared at the phone, the words echoing in my ears. Michelle had said it softly, but they hit me like a hammer. Michelle, what the hell are you saying? She hesitated. Aaron, Danielle told me back then, right after you two had broken up. She was spiraling. She said she made a stupid mistake. More than one. You mean Liam's not the only possible father? No, there was someone else. His name was Travis. He was just some guy from college. He came home for his dad's funeral. They bumped into each other. One thing led to another. I didn't speak. Aaron, I don't think Danielle's trying to hide this anymore. I think she's scared. Back then she thought you'd leave if you knew. And now she's already losing everything. I hung up. Not out of anger. Out of exhaustion. I couldn't hear another name. I couldn't process another betrayal. I sat on the back porch for hours. Inside, the woman I married was sleeping, maybe crying. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted the ground to stop shifting under me. The next morning, I asked Danielle directly. Her face was pale, eyes sunken. I didn't know how to tell you. Travis wasn't serious. I thought it was nothing. I thought he was just noise. Liam made more sense. But you're right. I lied by omission. No, Danielle, I said, voice cracking. You lied by survival. You built an entire family on maybe. She cried. Again. But something had changed in me. I couldn't comfort her anymore. That part of me was gone. So we did another test. This time for Travis. We tracked him down. He was living in Nashville, divorced twice, managing a warehouse. He didn't even remember Danielle at first. But he agreed, took the test, even joked about how weird it was. And while we waited for the results, Maddie started noticing everything. One night, as I was cleaning up after dinner, she sat at the counter, eyes sharp. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" I nearly dropped a glass. I turned. "Why would you ask that? You're sleeping in the guest room. You don't talk much anymore. You and Mom whisper a lot and stop when I walk in." I sat down across from her. My daughter, the girl I'd raised since her first breath. The girl who thought I was unshakable. "We're not getting divorced," I said softly, "but we're going through something hard. Is it my fault?" That hit me harder than the test result ever could. "No," I said, grabbing her hand. "God, no. None of this is your fault." And then the results came. Travis wasn't the father either. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. Danielle was just as shocked. "Then it has to be you," she whispered. But I didn't feel relief, because I no longer believed her instincts. She didn't know, and I didn't trust. And then, 1 week later, a letter arrived. Handwritten, no return address. Inside was a photo. Danielle, Liam, and another man, her arm around him, at a bar. Date stamped 13 years ago. And underneath, a note in thick black ink. "You're looking in the wrong place." I showed it to Danielle. She turned white. "Who is he?" I asked. She stared at the photo. "I don't remember his name. He was a bartender. I was drunk. Michelle picked me up that night. I never even meant to." "So there's a third?" She shook her head. "I didn't think there was any chance. It was one night. One stupid, awful night." My chest felt like it was being crushed. That night I sat in Maddie's room while she slept. I looked at her face, her nose, her lips, her freckles. I didn't care who gave her DNA. I didn't. But the lie, that's what I couldn't shake. I lived a life where love was supposed to mean truth. Now I didn't even know what kind of family I had. Danielle came into the room, quietly. "Aaron," she whispered, "what happens now?" I stood up. "Now? I tell Maddie. Before someone else does." She gasped. "No, please. She's not ready. She'll hate me. She deserves the truth. She deserves peace. She deserves both." Danielle fell to her knees. "Please. I've lost you. Don't make me lose her, too." But it was too late. From the hallway, a voice. "You're not my real dad?" Maddie stood there, in pajamas, holding her stuffed bear, her face blank, her eyes glassy. And in that moment, the house stopped breathing. "You're not my real dad?" Her voice was small, fragile, but it hit like an earthquake. Maddie stood in the hallway like a ghost who had wandered into her own home, clutching her stuffed bear like it could protect her from the storm that had rolled in quietly and torn our family to shreds. I froze. Danielle gasped and got up from the floor like it had burned her knees. "Sweetheart, listen." But Maddie stepped back. "How long have you been lying to me?" "Maddie, it's not," Danielle started, but I stepped in. "I never lied to you," I said. "Not once. Not about anything." She turned to me, her expression cracking. "But you're not my dad?" I swallowed. "Maddie, I raised you. Since day one. Diapers, midnight feedings, scraped knees. I've been there for everything. And that doesn't change." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "But you're not my real dad." And for the first time in my life, I felt my heart snap clean in half. Danielle tried to reach her. Maddie pulled away. "No," she said. "I want to know everything. Now." So I told her, as gently as I could, about Liam, about the paternity tests, about the photo that came in the mail, about how the truth kept changing, about how the woman she called Mom didn't even know who the biological father was. Danielle sobbed as I spoke. I didn't stop her. She had to feel it. Maddie was quiet. She listened, arms wrapped around herself, shrinking smaller with every word. When it was over, she stood and walked to her room. Didn't say a word. The next morning, she didn't eat, didn't speak, wouldn't look at either of us. It was a silence I had never heard before. Later that day, I got a message from Liam. "Hey, I heard what happened. I know I have no say in this, but if she wants to meet me, I'll be here." I didn't respond. That night, Maddie asked to speak with Danielle alone. I sat in the hallway, heard muffled crying, raised voices, then silence. When Danielle came out, she looked like she'd aged 10 years. "She wants to know who her father is," she whispered. She wants to find out. Legally. I nodded. So do I. We agreed to go to court. To petition for a comprehensive paternity search, full genetic comparison against all known samples, plus a legal motion that would force Danielle to submit any and all known partners from the time in question. It was humiliating, but necessary. And that's when the man in the photo finally surfaced. He was contacted by the private investigator we hired through the court. His name was Caleb Reddick. Exbartender. Now a long-haul truck driver. Lived outside Memphis. He didn't respond to any of the investigators' emails. But 1 week later, he showed up in town. Walked right into the courthouse the day of our preliminary hearing. I'm here about the girl, he said bluntly. I don't want trouble. Just answers. The judge approved emergency testing. Danielle sat beside me, silent, as they took Caleb's swab. And then we waited. Again. During those 2 weeks, Maddie barely looked at me. I'd knock on her door. Want to go to the diner? No. Want to watch that baking show? No. Want to talk? Nothing. Danielle tried too. Got shut out. We were a house full of strangers, each in their own corner, trying to hold back the flood. Then, one night, she came to me. Maddie. She was crying, trembling. Daddy, she whispered. What if none of them are it? What if I don't belong to anybody? I pulled her into my arms so fast she startled. You belong to me, I said fiercely. Always. No matter what that test says. She buried her face into my chest and cried harder than I'd ever seen her cry. I held her all night. And then, 2 days later, the results came. Caleb Reddick was Maddie's biological father. 99.97% certainty. Danielle collapsed into a chair when she read it. I never loved him, she whispered. I barely remember that night. I didn't say anything. There was nothing left to say. Maddie asked to meet him, so we set it up. Neutral location. Therapist present. Safe. Controlled. Caleb showed up nervous. Wore a button-down shirt. Brought a little keychain with her initials engraved in silver. He wasn't perfect. He was awkward. Stumbled over words. But Maddie hugged him anyway. And I watched from across the room, arms folded, heart breaking all over again. That night, she came to me quietly. Are you mad that I hug him? No, I said. You're allowed to hug anyone you want. But he didn't raise me. I know. You did. Yeah, I whispered. She paused. Then, does that make me yours again? I smiled. Shakily. You were always mine. She didn't cry this time. She just hugged me back. Hard. And for a second, just a second, I fell whole again. The moment Maddie hugged Caleb, the world tilted. At first, it seemed harmless, just a man connecting with a daughter he never knew he had. He was polite, soft-spoken, said all the right things. He asked about her hobbies, her favorite books, if she liked dogs. He even cried a little when she showed him the macaroni art she made in 2nd grade. Danielle thought it was beautiful. Maybe this is what she needs, she said quietly one night, as we sat in the kitchen, pretending to drink coffee. But I knew better. Caleb wasn't just showing up for peace. A week after that meeting, I got a letter. Not a phone call. Not a text. A letter. From Caleb's attorney. Petition for custodial evaluation. He was filing for partial custody. Claiming his parental rights. Wanting visitation. Holidays. Summers. Claiming, legally, that I was not Maddie's father. And never had been. The paper trembled in my hands as I read the words. Danielle went pale. No, she whispered. He said he promised. He lied. I called my lawyer the same day. Can he do this? I asked. He sighed. It's complicated. Biologically, he has a case. But family court is about what's best for the child. We'll fight it. I nodded. But my heart was in my throat. Because I knew Caleb didn't really want custody. Not deep down. He wanted leverage. Control. Power over a situation he had no right to step into after 13 years of absence. He wanted to matter. The next few weeks were war. Maddie was pulled into evaluations. Danielle and I sat through sessions with psychologists, social workers, legal mediators. Our house became a legal battleground. Danielle unravelet fast. One night, I found her sitting in the bathroom, lights off, sobbing into a towel. I ruined everything, she whispered. I ruined her life. Yours. Mine. All of it. I don't know how to fix it. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. She wasn't the enemy, but she was the storm that brought this all down. Meanwhile, Caleb started pushing harder. He began calling Maddie, texting her constantly, sending her gifts. Once, a necklace with the words, "My daughter, my light." It made me sick, but Maddie wore it. I didn't say anything. Then one night, she came to me crying. He told me I should come live with him. I stiffened. "What did you say?" I told him I didn't know, that I needed to think. My hands were shaking. "Daddy," she whispered, "why does this feel like my fault?" That broke me. I pulled her close. "Because the people who were supposed to protect you didn't." She looked up at me. "What if the court says I have to go?" "They won't. But what if they do?" I didn't have an answer, because I'd seen it before, courts siding with biological fathers over emotional bonds, ripping children from the only homes they've ever known. The fear in her eyes that night haunts me still. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Caleb. I told him to meet me. Neutral ground, a bench near the river walk downtown. He showed up in a flannel shirt, confident, like a man ready to win something. "You don't love her," I said. "I want to get to know her." "No, Caleb. You want to rewrite the past. You want a shortcut to something you didn't earn." He scoffed. "You think I'm a bad guy?" "I don't think you're anything," I said. "But I am her father. I know her. I know the song she listens to when she's sad. I know she fakes headaches when she's nervous about school. I know she still leaves the crust on her sandwich plate because she thinks it's polite." He looked away. "I get it," I said. "You missed out. That sucks. But don't make her pay the price for that." He didn't speak. "She's not a second chance, Caleb. She's a kid. A scared, brilliant, fragile kid. And if you really care about her, you'll stop this." I walked away after that. Didn't wait for his reply. 3 days later, the court hearing was scheduled. Danielle, pale and trembling, sat next to me in the hallway. "Do you think we'll lose?" "I don't know," I said honestly. And then, something unexpected happened. Caleb didn't show. His lawyer withdrew the petition. 2 hours later, Danielle got a text from him. "She deserves peace. You were right. I am sorry." It didn't undo the damage, but it stopped the bleeding. That night, Maddie came into the kitchen as I was washing dishes. She stood there quietly, then said, "Can I tell people you're my dad again?" I turned, dry my hands. "You never had to stop." She ran to me and wrapped her arms around my waist. And for the first time in months, I let myself cry. I wasn't her father by blood, but I was her dad. And sometimes, that's the only truth that matters. The weeks after Caleb withdrew felt quiet in the strangest way. Like the eye of a storm had passed, and now we were just sifting through the wreckage. There was no victory lap, no celebración, just the sobering fact that we'd all been changed. Danielle tried. She went to therapy. Alone at first, then invited me. I didn't say yes immediately, but I did go. We sat on opposite ends of a small room while a woman named Janice tried to stitch language back between us. "I didn't cheat on you," Danielle said in our first joint session, "but I still betrayed you. I know that now." I didn't respond. Not at first, because betrayal isn't always about sex. Sometimes it's about silence, about what people choose not to tell you, even when the truth might have saved you both. Maddie began to heal in her own way. She stopped asking about Caleb, stopped wearing the necklace. One day, I found it in the trash, next to a drawing she'd made of her and me fishing at Lake Norman. The paper was wrinkled, but the smile on her cartoon face said everything I needed. Then came the unexpected. Danielle asked me to dinner. Not as a couple, just as parents. I said yes. We sat at a small Italian place downtown, the same one where we'd once celebrated our 5th anniversary. She looked tired.